There are two distinct ages in a human life, the age of acquisition and the age of meaning. You spend the first 50 years of your life gathering, accumulating, a house in a decent neighborhood, a career that pays the bills and maybe offers a sliver of pride, a family, and things. God, so many things. You fill the shelves, the closets, the dark corners of the garage, believing each item is another brick in the fortress of your life, a shield against uncertainty. But then you cross a threshold sometime after your 60th birthday, without a signpost or a single warning shot. You wake up one morning, the house is too quiet, and you realize the things you own have started to own you. They are not bricks anymore. They are anchors, heavy, silent anchors holding you fast in a harbor of yesterday. The silence isn't peaceful. It's the sound of dust settling on a life that's stopped moving forward. You have become the quiet, unpaid curator of your own dusty museum. I have this hand plane, a Stanley No. 4, made back in 1952. Solid steel rosewood handles worn smooth by my father's hands and then by mine. For decades it felt like an extension of my arm. The sound it made shaving a thin curl from a piece of pine. A soft whisper like sharing a secret. The scent of those fresh wood curls was the smell of creation, of purpose. I've held onto it for over 60 years. It sits on a shelf in my workshop now, a perfect tool. The blade is still sharp enough to split a hair, but my hands are shot. The arthritis came on slow, first a dull ache in the knuckles, now it's a constant grinding pain. I can't close my fist tight enough to grip that handle, let alone push it with the force and control it demands. The tool is perfect. I am the one who is broken. The plane hasn't changed, but I have. It represents a man I can no longer be, a language my body can no longer speak. It's no longer a tool, it's a monument to my own decay. Now why am I telling you about this useless piece of steel and wood? Because I promise you, your house is full of them. Maybe it's not a hand plane. Maybe it's that set of good china from your wedding in 1978 that you're too scared to actually use. Or a closet full of corporate suits from a job you left a decade ago. Or the expensive yarn for a sweater you were definitely going to knit the moment you retired. These objects are ghosts. They are promises you made to a younger version of yourself that time has made impossible to keep, and they are stealing your peace, one dusty shelf at a time. So listen to me. I'm telling you this now so that perhaps you won't have to be as stubborn and sentimental a fool as I was for so long. Pay close attention to what I'm about to share, because understanding this simple truth might just be the thing that pulls up your anchors before you realize you've run out of sea to sail. It might just give you your life back. I knew a man, a dear friend named Robert, a brilliant engineer, a man of logic and straight lines who fell in love with a woman made of curves and color. His wife, Clara, was a painter, not the kind you'd find in a fancy gallery, but the kind whose soul poured out onto the canvas in bursts of sunset orange and deep ocean blue. She passed away in the cold snap of January 2005. I remember the day after the funeral, Robert walked up to the second floor to her small art studio overlooking the garden and quietly closed the door. He turned the key in the lock, a decisive metallic click that echoed the closing of a chapter. He told me later he just wanted to keep it safe, exactly as she had left it. A single brush resting in a jar of murky water, her apron on the back of a chair, a half-finished canvas on the easel. He thought he was building a sanctuary for her memory. He was wrong. He was building a prison for his own heart, and he was both the warden and the sole inmate. For the next 10 years, that room became a ghost on the second floor, Robert paid to heat it in the winter and cool it in the summer, a perfectly preserved shrine to a moment that was gone. He'd tell us at Sunday dinners it's just as she left it, with a pride that was really just a mask for his profound, unshakable grief. He was preserving the stale air, thick with the smell of drying turpentine and a decade of settled dust. We all knew what he was doing. He wasn't honoring Clara. He was refusing to live in a world that didn't have her in it. The house grew quieter around that sealed room. His laughter faded. He became the caretaker of a museum with a single tragic exhibit. The day his life stopped. He was meticulously preserving the scene of the accident, hoping that if he didn't disturb anything, maybe, just maybe, it hadn't really happened at all. His devotion wasn't to her memory, but to his own stasis. Then one sunny Saturday in 2015, his granddaughter, a bright little thing named Lily, all of 7 years old, looked up at him and asked the question that changed everything. "Grandpa, can I see Grandma's paintings?" The innocence of it struck him like a physical blow. He hadn't said no to her about anything ever. He hesitated, his face a roadmap of conflict, but he saw Clara's curiosity in Lily's eyes. So for the first time in a decade, he took the old brass key from his desk drawer. He walked up the stairs, each step a heavy creak under the weight of his decision. He put the key in the lock. The sound of the tumblers turning was deafening in the silent hallway. He pushed the door open. A beam of afternoon sun sliced through the gloom, illuminating 10 years of airborne dust in a single golden column. The air that rushed out wasn't nostalgic. It was dead. It smelled of decay. In that harsh, unforgiving light, Robert didn't see Clara's vibrant spirit. He saw his own neglect. He saw the fine gray blanket of dust that covered everything, turning her brilliant colors into muted, sad tones. He saw the way the sunlight had faded the spines of her art books on the shelf. And then he saw it. On her final unfinished painting near the window, a creeping greenish-black stain of mold had begun to crawl up from the bottom corner. The canvas was warped from years of winter condensation. He had thought he was protecting her masterpiece, but his inaction had allowed it to rot. In that instant, the grief he had so carefully preserved curdled into a sharp, bitter regret. He hadn't honored his wife. He had trapped her soul in a damp, dark box and allowed it to decay. He had let her die a second time, slowly, silently, right above his head. That week, everything changed. Robert called his children. There were tears, but they were the cleansing kind. They went into the studio together, not as mourners, but as archivists of love. Each child chose one painting, a piece of Clara's soul to take home, to hang on their own walls where it could be seen, talked about, and loved by a new generation. They rescued what they could and let the rest go. Robert turned the studio into a bright, airy guest room. He painted the walls a cheerful yellow. The first time Lily stayed in that room, he told me he stood outside the door and listened to her humming. He said the house felt alive again, that it had finally taken a deep breath after 10 years of holding it in. He realized he had to sacrifice the shrine to save the spirit. He let go of the room, and in doing so, he finally got to keep the truest part of Clara. The part that lives on, not in a dusty room, but in the memory of love. Robert's story is not just about a room, it's a parable for your mind. Every single object you keep out of guilt, obligation, or a faded sense of someday becomes a tenant in your head. It occupies precious mental real estate and it doesn't pay rent. That inherited sideboard you secretly despise, It's not just sitting in your dining room. It's a constant low-grade hum of resentment in your thoughts every time you walk past it. Those boxes of your children's school papers, they are ghosts of a role you no longer play, whispering that your most important job is behind you. We've been taught to believe our possessions define us, that they are the physical record of a life well lived. That is the great foundational lie of a consumer culture. You are not the china in your cabinet. You are not the title you held at work. These things are just calcified memories, heavy anchors to a past self. The real you, the one who is living and breathing today, needs space. The psychic weight of these objects is crushing your ability to be present in the only moment you truly have, this one. We have a deep primal fear of empty space, an empty shelf, a cleared out room. It can feel like an admission of loss, a confirmation that a chapter of life is truly over. We see that emptiness, and our first thought is the end. But I am here to tell you that this is a profound failure of imagination. That space you create is not a void. It is potential. It is the clearing in the forest where the sunlight can finally reach the ground and allow something new and unexpected to grow. It is the sacred silence that allows you to finally hear your own thoughts, instead of the constant buzzing chorus of your obligations to inanimate objects. This stage of your life is not meant for guarding dusty relics. It is for a new kind of acquisition, the acquisition of peace, of clarity, of time. The empty space is where your new life happens. It's where you can unroll a yoga mat, set up a grand puzzle, or simply sit with a cup of tea and a quiet mind. You must evict the ghosts to make room for yourself. So let's talk about what's weighing you down. We'll start with the good china. You know the set, the one you got for your wedding in 1976. It lives in a heavy box in the top of a closet, or maybe in a display cabinet you dust but never open. You're saving it for a special occasion. I have a question for you. What are you waiting for? A visit from the Queen? Your life right now, this quiet Tuesday evening, is the special occasion. The most defiant, joyful act you can commit is to serve yourself a simple sandwich on your finest plate. Using these things is not about wearing them out. It's about honoring the life you have today, not preserving a fantasy of a future that may never arrive. Your breath in this moment is the only special occasion you are guaranteed. Stop waiting for permission to live beautifully. That permission was granted the day you were born. Tonight, set one of those plates for yourself. Celebrate the fact that you are still here. Next, let's talk about your great-aunt Gloria's mahogany sideboard. It's huge, it's dark, it smells faintly of her perfume and old furniture polish. You've never liked it? Not really. It doesn't match a single thing you own, and it makes your dining room feel like a funeral parlor. But you keep it out of guilt, out of respect. Let me be clear about something. You honor your ancestors by living a full, joyful, and authentic life. You do not honor them by turning your home into a storage unit for their taste. Your peace of mind is infinitely more sacred than their sideboard. Do you think Aunt Gloria, wherever she is, wants you to sigh with resentment every time you walk past that heavy piece of wood? Of course not. She would want you to be happy. Sell it. Give it away to someone who will love it. Take the money and buy a piece of art that makes your heart sing, or use it for a plane ticket. Honoring the dead is about embracing the life they gave you, not being buried alive under their furniture. Now open your closet. Be brave. Go past the clothes you wear every week. Back there in the dark is a museum of past selves. There's the size 8 dress you wore to your nephew's wedding in 1998, a silent judgment on the body you have today. There are the wool corporate suits from a job that ended a decade ago, costumes for a role you no longer play. These are not just clothes. They are anchors to a past identity, preventing you from fully embracing the wisdom and freedom of the woman you are right now. To be reborn into this new chapter of your life, the old self must be lovingly shed. Keeping those clothes is like insisting you can still fit into your high school uniform. It's a form of self-punishment. Let them go. Donate them. Let someone else play that part. Your role now is so much more interesting. You are the lead, not a supporting character from a previous season. And what about those boxes in the attic? The ones labeled Carmine's third grade or Jessica's trophies? Piles of construction paper turkeys, book reports with gold stars, participation trophies from soccer leagues long disbanded. You're holding on to them out of love, I know, but you have become the unpaid archivist of their childhoods. Here is a hard truth. Your children are not their paper artifacts. They are out in the world, living their own lives, making new memories. You are carrying the physical burden of their past while they are busy creating their future. You are not freeing them. You are tethering yourself to your role as their hands-on parent, a job description that has expired. Free yourself. Take a beautiful photograph of the 2 or 3 most precious items. Create a small album, digital or physical. Then let the paper dissolve. Your memory is in your heart, not in a dusty box. Let's venture into the garage or the basement, to the corner of broken dreams. The potter's kiln you were going to use the moment you retired. The 50 skeins of expensive yarn for that complex Afghan. The brand new woodworking tools still in their plastic cases. These aren't hobby supplies anymore. They are monuments to guilt. Every time your eyes land on them, they whisper a silent accusation. You failed. You didn't follow through. You are wasting precious energy today, feeling bad about the person you intended to be 10 years ago. I want you to practice a form of radical honesty. Who are you today? What truly brings a spark of joy to your heart? Now, perhaps it's not pottery, but morning walks and bird watching. Sell the kiln and buy yourself a fantastic pair of binoculars. Trade the guilt of someday for the simple, attainable joy of right now. Be the person you are, not the person you once thought you should be. And the media fossils, the boxes of VHS tapes of weddings and first steps, the cassette tapes you made in your car in 1985, the vinyl records you can't play because the needle on your turntable broke during the Clinton administration. You're clinging to plastic shells. Let's be honest with each other. The memory is not in the brittle magnetic tape. The feeling you had on your wedding day is not trapped inside that white plastic cassette. If that footage, that music, was so vitally important to you, you would have already found a way to convert it to a format you can actually use. You haven't, which means you are not curating memories. You are curating a museum of obsolete technology. You're holding on to the container, not the content. The memory is weightless, and it lives inside you. The box of tapes is heavy, and it lives in your closet. Let the plastic go. Then there are the dust collectors, the tiny, meaningless souvenirs and knickknacks lining every flat surface. The miniature plastic Eiffel Tower from your trip in '99, the commemorative plate from a town you barely remember, the chipped mug from a conference. Each one was a token of a moment, but that moment has passed. Now they are simply items on a long list of things you have to move and dust every week. The value of your trip to Paris was the change it made inside you. The memory of the light on the sand, the taste of that first real croissant. That is the souvenir you carry. It's weightless. You don't need a cheap plastic totem to prove that you lived, that you traveled, that you experienced something. The proof is in the stories you tell and the person you became. Free your shelves. Let your surfaces breathe. The memory is not the thing. The memory is you. Finally, we come to the cabinet of fear, the medicine cabinet in the back of the pantry, the expired pain medication just in case, the 20-year-old can of creamed corn, the jar of spices so old its contents have turned to dust. This is not about being prepared. This is a physical manifestation of scarcity anxiety, a deep-seated fear that you will be without. You are living in fear of a what-if from a life you no longer lead. You are no longer raising 5 children on 1 income. You can afford a new bottle of time. Letting go of this is an act of trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the world. Trust in abundance. Do this exercise with me now. Look at one of these spaces, your pantry, your closet, even your bank account, and ask yourself honestly, is what I'm holding on to helping me grow, or is it keeping me trapped in fear? Go to the comments and tell me, which of these 8 things is the heaviest for you? Let's unburden ourselves together. If you choose to ignore this, to just click away and go back to dusting your monuments, let me be very clear about the price you will pay. It isn't just a messy house. The consequence is that your home, your supposed sanctuary, will become your cage. You will slowly stop inviting people over. First, it's the big dinner parties. Then it's just coffee with a friend, until finally the doorbell ringing fills you with anxiety, not joy. The physical risk becomes terrifyingly real. A simple trip to the bathroom in the middle of the night turns into a high-stakes navigation around a box of old tax returns. A fall over a rug that's bunched up against an unused armchair isn't just a bruise at 70. It's a broken hip. It's the event that takes your car keys away. It's the beginning of someone else deciding when you eat and when you sleep. Your body is aging. It needs a home that helps it, not one that lays traps for it. You will spend your final years not as the master of your domain, but as a prisoner in it. But the deepest, most gut-wrenching consequence is the one you leave behind. It is the burden you will force upon your grieving children. Instead of spending the weeks after you're gone sharing stories and comforting each other, they will be faced with a mountain. 50 years of your life crammed into closets and piled in the basement. They will spend their bereavement leave with dust masks and rubber gloves, stressed and resentful, making 1,000 tiny, agonizing decisions. They'll argue over what to keep. They will throw away the little porcelain bird you cherished because they have no context for it, no room for it. Your final act on this earth will not be one of love, but one of labor for the people you love most. The ultimate tragedy is to spend your golden years as a security guard for your possessions, only to have that legacy become the source of your children's first exhausted sigh of relief. There is a thief who is far more dangerous than any burglar who might jimmy your lock. This thief doesn't want your television or your silver. He wants your life. His name is Someday. He is the smoothest talker you will ever meet. He lives in your closets, whispering about the perfect party where you'll finally wear that sequined dress. He lurks in your garage, assuring you that someday you'll have the energy to start that woodworking project. He is the reason your good china is still in its box. Someday, he promises, will be the day it all makes sense. But someday is a liar. He is a con artist who sells you a fantasy of the future in exchange for the currency of your present. Every item you dedicate to him, every plan you postpone for his arrival, is another piece of your life you've handed over willingly. You are mortgaging your now for a then that has no guarantee of ever showing up. He is stealing your only non-renewable resource, time. This thief someday convinces you to live in a state of perpetual preparation. You are forever getting ready for a life that hasn't started yet. You are the stage manager for a play whose star performer, the future you, may never show up. The tragedy is that while you are backstage, dusting props and arranging costumes for someday, the real show is happening right now, outside your window. The sun is setting in spectacular fashion. Your grandchild is telling a silly joke on the phone. The cat is purring on your lap. These are not rehearsals. This is the performance. This is your life. Every object you save for someday is a vote of no confidence in today. It is a declaration that this moment, the only one you can actually touch and feel and taste, is not good enough. You are sacrificing the tangible joy of a simple Tuesday for the phantom promise of a perfect imaginary Friday. Stop waiting for the curtain to rise. You are already on stage. You have to understand the mathematics of time change as you get older. When you are 20, someday feels like a vast open field of possibility. You can afford to put things off. You have a surplus of tomorrows. But now time is not a field, it's a path, and you can see the end of it more clearly than the beginning. Someday is no longer a harmless fantasy. It is a reckless gamble with your most precious dwindling asset. The clock is not just ticking, it is screaming. That box of letters you plan to read someday, that trip you'll take someday. Someday is a thief who is counting the coins left in your pocket, and he will take them all if you let him. The only way to beat him is to spend them yourself right now. Use the good towels, call the old friend, book the ticket, break the spell of someday with the brute force of today. Because someday is where dreams go to die, covered in a fine layer of dust. Enough talk. Your homework is not some grand, painful project. It is about building momentum right now. I call it the one-bag mission. I want you to pause this video, go to your kitchen, and grab one single trash bag. Now set a timer on your phone for exactly 15 minutes. Walk into one room, just one, and fill that bag with only the obvious, undisputed trash. Expired mail, old magazines, broken pens, dead batteries, things that are visibly useless. Do not stop to reminisce. Do not debate with yourself. Your only job is to fill the bag. When that timer rings, stop immediately, tie the bag closed, and walk it directly to your outside bin. Don't leave it by the door for later. Do it now. In that small, simple act, you have proven to your own stubborn heart that you are still in charge. You took one tiny piece of your life back from the past. That is the first taste of freedom, and it is glorious. Now for part 2 of your assignment. Grab a piece of paper and a pen right now. On it, I want you to write down 3 things, just 3, that you are saving for someday. It could be the good dress, the expensive bottle of wine, the call to an old friend. Now I want you to physically cross out the word someday next to each one and write this month. This is not a suggestion. It is an order from someone who has wasted far too many somedays to count. This is your new pact with yourself, a contract with the present moment. This channel is not about watching videos, it's a commitment to this kind of action. If you are serious about learning how to walk with lightness, to live a life unburdened and full of meaning, then subscribe. Make that your promise to show up for yourself. The curtain is up. Now go. Go live your life. I'll see you in the next one.